Hello, thank you for joining us. This is Platform. I'm Ruth Aguele. Food security remains crucial to Nigeria's national sovereignty, economic resilience and stability. Now, the push for sustainable agribusiness is more critical than ever, especially as climate change increasingly impacts the nation's agriculture sector through drought, flooding, and unpredictable weather pattern. With a growing population, expanding markets, and increasing demand for sustainable food systems, agribusiness remains one of the nation's key drivers for productivity, prosperity, and economic transformation. Going by the federal government's efforts on promoting sustainable agribusiness across the country, there has been deliberate move, through diverse interventions from mechanized farming to funding, through grants, input support, you name it, as part of measures towards transforming traditional farming into profitable and value-driven enterprises. Although challenges persist, from climate shocks to poor infrastructure, inadequate training, access to agro-technology, especially in rural areas, sustainable agribusiness across the value chain, experts say, offer a viable way forward for a resilient, food-secure nation. But the question is, what are the measures in place to promote best practices? How can families adopt easy ways of homegrown solution into a business venture? Well, that's our focus on Platform, sustainable agribusiness in Nigeria. How do we move from food production to economic opportunity? And our guest is Dr. Jonathan Aligbe. He's the Deputy Director from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Aligbe.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, just before we welcome our panelists on the program, we'd like to take you through the profile of our guest, which is what we do here. Dr. Jonathan Aligbe is the Deputy Director and, of course, Head Agric Development and Education Division. Of course, that's from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, like I said. But he's also involved in maize value chain development, and also other aspects in the ministry. He holds a PhD degree in agricultural economics, and his work bridges critical areas of agricultural research, policy implementation, climate change economics, and food security. We'll leave the profile there. Our panelist on the platform today is one correspondent who is very diverse from the Sun newspaper. I'm talking about Obi Okwe. Thank you so much, Obi, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. So, Dr. Aligbe, let's look at ways. Let's begin with what has played out over time when we're looking at sustainable agri-practice in Nigeria. We've seen deliberate move by the federal government on food system transformation. Of course, through different approaches, we're seeing bold reforms taken by the federal government to build a resilient and more productive and also inclusive sector that works for all Nigerians. So give us a narrative on what has played out so far and where we are as a nation.
Okay, thank you very much. Right to say that by enumerating the diverse challenges that we have faced, in recent time, government have tried to take several measures to tackle such challenges so as to increase production, improve productivity, reduce food insecurity, promote export promotion, and of course, employment for the youth. Among these many programs that we have, the issue of mechanization. Mechanization is very, very important. If you want to increase production and productivity, of course, productivity is also often differentiated from production, because productivity means the output per unit area. If you mechanize, you use the right inputs and you give the right information, and we have good agricultural practices, you find out that your productivity can improve per hectare. For instance, if the average yield of maize per hectare in Nigeria today is 4 tons per hectare, with improved mechanization, when you employ the use of tractors, you employ the use of improved inputs, using high-yielding varieties, and practicing good agricultural practices, you find out that that same plot of land, 1 hectare, can give you up to 7 to 8 tons. So that is why we are looking at not just increasing production, but also increasing productivity. I have mentioned the issue of mechanization. You will agree with me that in recent time, particularly this administration, we roll out tractors, over 2,000 tractors, over 9,000 implements were rolled out to support the mechanization efforts of the federal government. I'm talking about at the national level. Also at the subnational level, you also have many subnational governments doing their efforts. You can mention them, like Niger State, like Kaduna, like Edo, also doing the same thing to ensure that we mechanize agriculture. And also too, the federal government did not just stop at mechanization to attract new entrants, to attract youths into agriculture. The government also focused on other areas, particularly the issue of soil health. Soil health is very, very important and critical in production, because if you want to preserve the environment, you want to protect the environment, also ensure sustainable production, you do not just apply fertilizer anyhow, for instance, because before you apply fertilizer, you must know the nature or the status of the soil. The soil health is very, very important. And that is why the federal government in recent time also has focused on the issue of soil health. And that's why I have the soil health scheme, having the soil health cards. And also the federal government is trying to ensure that each local government have a soil test laboratory. Though we already have in all the geopolitical zones of the federation to cater for the different agroecological of the zones of the country. But the federal government is focused on that. So issue of soil health is also very important.
Okay.
Because the practice before now is that they will tell you, oh, just apply 4 bags of fertilizer per hectare. But that is not correct. That is an off-scientific way of doing things. And it affects the environment. It affects your productivity. And of course, it has some consequences. Beyond that, the government is also looking at, like, look, the focus is actually on smallholder farmers. Over time, we have realized, and you will agree with me, that the over 60% of what we consume come from the smallholder farmers.
Okay.
And,
well, I know there's a lot you will reel out, you know, in terms of interventions, but I'd like Obi to come in. He wants to ask a follow-up to that.
Okay.
You said the federal government bought 2,000 tractors.
Yes.
That was last year.
Yes.
And the president was there to commission these tractors. That's a very lofty idea. Now, what has been the distribution channels, mechanism? Because a lot of farmers have also complained that they have not seen these tractors. Now, after 8 months after, the federal government is struggling to train 4,000 service providers. So why the delay? Why are we having these challenges?
Okay, just before you pick up with that, I know there's just unveiled the National Agricultural Mechanization Policy and, of course, the National Agricultural Mechanization Program. So you want to marry that question with this. How would this policy now help, you know, create accessibility?
Of course, I think one thing we need to know, when farmers complain, if you look at I don't know if you know the farmers population that we have in Nigeria, but if you guess a hazard, you will agree with me that 2,000, for instance, is just like a drop in the ocean. So if farmers complain that we don't have it, you will agree with me that the complaint may not be out of place. But that's not to say that it was not deployed. And don't forget, the federal government didn't just stop at that. There is an MOU understanding with John Deere to have a partnership, because government cannot just be doing everything. Government should not be going into direct production. But when you create an enabling environment, the ease of doing business, which the federal government has provided, you bring in partners that on their own can roll out these things. And that is what those programs, the mechanization program, is all about. And again, don't forget that training of personnel, capacity development, is also very important. Before now, you do not have those equipment. And therefore, you will agree with me that you do not have those that will man those equipment. But right now, the training is ongoing and it is continuous. But don't forget also that agriculture is in the 3 tiers of government that is on the concurrent list. Therefore, it is not just a federal government policy alone. You must get the buy-in of the subnationals. And I will take you to some of those efforts that the federal government is doing. Recently, you will also agree with me that there is distribution of fertilizer. The federal government, through NAT fund, procured several tons of fertilizer, which it gave to the state government, and to ensure that it reached the farmers, so that people will not complain that we don't have it. a certain percentage was allocated to the state government, and a greater percentage of that fertilizer was given to our farmers association, so that the farmers will not complain that we don't have these things. That's what I have not mentioned. Because when it do not go through the farmer groups or farmer association or such association, you could have some complaint. But when you go through them, of course, the complaint will be reduced. Not that there will be no complaint, because it cannot get to everybody. But the most important thing is that government is showing leadership, government is showing commitment, and government is ensuring that the subnational also key into it. And of course, the private sector must take it as a challenge. And that is what we are doing.
So if I will come in there, Dr. Aligbe, based on what you just raised, the aspect of it not getting to everybody, and they have to go through associations for them to have access to some of these interventions, still staying on the mechanization aspect. Now, what about the feedback? Is the ministry, relating, having a kind of interaction with these associations to let those other farmers who are not in any group, so that no one will be left behind? Because the goal for the federal government is to promote inclusivity. So are you getting feedback when you interact, based on reports, and also at the sub-nationals, to ensure that nobody is left behind?
Absolutely. Okay. Everybody is carried on. The feedback is there. And you see, the way we work and the way the ministry work when it comes to such interventions, we do not just do it alone. We ensure that the security agencies are also involved, because we must ensure that those things are monitored. We also ensure that the press is also involved at the subnational, at the local level, so that everybody will be on the same page, so that it could be as transparent as possible. And that is why when we do such, we ensure that the real farmers, otherwise we could have said, okay, give to state government, let them distribute. Experience have shown in time past that when you go through like way, the complaint have been that, oh, we were left out. And that is why we are involving the farmer groups, the farmer associations. And the feedback is that, yes, we are having, but like the popular Oliver Twist, they will always ask for more. But don't forget, which we keep on telling them, agriculture is a business. What government is doing is to promote and show leadership. And because it's a business, the business investors, the investors in agriculture should take it as a business and, of course, commit their resources to it.
How viable is Nigeria for agribusiness? Because we've had cases where we've had adulterated fertilizers. We've had portfolio farmers hijacking this process. Yeah, you see smallholder farmers, mostly women, lamenting that this thing is not getting to them. And investors are leaving the country in droves. Secondly, Nigeria is also very quick to sign MOUs with different countries, with China, with US and other countries. Yet, the output is very poor. What is the problem?
Okay, you have asked about 3 questions in one. I will take them one by one.
Okay. On
the issue of portfolio farmers,
yes,
I would say with all confidence and certainty that we have been able to eliminate that. I'm over 30 years in the ministry. And if you listen to my profile, I read agriculture up to the PhD level, over 15 years as a PhD holder. And I have also been a farmer. Issue of poultry farmers have been sufficiently addressed. What we may not have been able to address sufficiently is the issue of maybe adulteration, not just fertilizer. You could have some other chemicals, like agrochemicals, that may be adulterated. And we are tackling them. We are tackling them because the Farm Input Support Service department of the ministry, which is the department that is licensed to look at agrochemicals, to ensure that you do not have adulterated chemicals and fertilizers or inputs generally in the market, are working hard. But you find out that also you need, they need to have laboratories everywhere. You do not need to take a sample from Kano and be coming to Abuja. If you take a sample in Kano, you should be able to analyze it in Kano and know whether it is fit for the market or not. But because of our market system, our open market system, they still find a way of having such in the market. But I want to say that with the current rates, because we rate stores, we rate markets, and you take samples, you analyze them, we have been able to ensure that we have minimized the occurrence of adulteration of products.
This reading you talk about, does it cut across nationwide?
Yeah, of course, it's nationwide. But again, I must admit that the manpower is not enough.
I was going to ask that.
The manpower is not enough, but we are on it. And there's an improvement from where we were before until this administration came on board. There's serious improvement, and it is a continuous thing. And we are hoping that very soon we're able to raid the markets nationwide of all such adulterated products. You
know, when you earlier started your opening remarks, you talked about excessive use of pesticide, that's the chemicals these smallholder farmers use because of lack of training. Now, they're receiving incentives, they're receiving other support. Are they also going through that training on the right chemical to use and what not to use? Because you can, if you say the ministry goes on raiding this market, if they're not knowledgeable on what to purchase, they will go back and get it again.
Well, you may think that they are not educated, but
it's not about education, it's about training, sensitization.
Yes, but I think they are more, because over time they have been in the market, they have been in the business, they have been in farm. They are the one, of course, sometimes they report these things that, look, I bought XYZ from a particular agro store, and this is what I found. We get such feedback from farmers.
Okay.
So it is not excessive, actually excessive use of chemicals. Inappropriate, not excessive.
Okay.
Because if you take the wrong one, it's the inappropriate use. So we ensure that, that's why we have the extension department of the ministry.
Okay.
The extension delivery system is to ensure that the farmers are well educated, and give them adequate training, you give them information, not just only on the use of pesticide or fertilizer, but also information on early warning system. Because if there is going to be pest invasion or disease attack, if you have an early warning system, it is the extension delivery system of the ministry that should be able to deliver this and tell them, oh, please be careful. Even right now, when you have this NIMET giving us predictions, it is also our duty to ensure that we communicate this to the farmers. And sometimes some may be unwilling to accept such warnings, and they want to test the water. They want to tell you we have been doing this, but sometimes they get their figures burnt. But the federal government don't just leave them alone like that. Like last week, if you maybe you covered the event in Jigawa State, government came to support farmers who had suffered some loss from a dry spell. You know, they suffered through drought, and by giving them for groundnut cowpea in order to support them. And these are the things we do. But I must say that in terms of training, in terms of information extension delivery system, we are not here where we should be as a nation. The extension ratio is grossly insufficient. The extension ratio and farmer is grossly insufficient, and that is why right now we have a bill in the National Assembly to ensure that we have an extension delivery system that will bring in private actors. Okay. We have private actors, businessmen, who will take it as market demand, and not only that, they will also ensure that the use of ICT is brought in, ensure that also too that the farmer have information in usable form and on time. So we hope that once that bill on extension delivery is passed by the National Assembly, we'll have a more robust, more expansive, and more inclusive and reachable extension delivery system in the country.
Doctor, in all of this, where is the place of agro rangers? Because we've been having this problem for a very long time. Farmers had the misunderstanding and they say, oh, agro rangers will tackle it. But yeah, they seem not to be working. What is the problem, sir?
Well, you know, when you have a problem and the problem have not been solved, it will appear as if nothing is being done. Of course, I will agree with what you, I will not, I will say your question is in order, because effort without result or effort without manifold result may not be seen as an effort. That is the reality. But I won't say this. Farmers' herders clash has been on for ages, for several years. Of course, there was this clash. If, for you to say there is a grazing route, The issue of grazing rule came because there was a problem.
Yes.
So the issue of farmer headers class is not just 5 years or 10 years. It has been there for years. And to answer your question directly, agro-rangers are there. It is a new innovation.
Okay.
It's a new thing that have been deployed. And of course, the number that we have now is grossly insufficient to man and to give us the adequate result. But one thing I want Nigerians, I want people to acknowledge, is that this government has started something good. It's building on it. And we hope to upscale it so that at the end of the day, we're able to have results. But I must say this, if you check very well and do some research, because we get feedback from the feed, from the distance, the agro-rangers, they are doing their best. But the issue of insurgency and insecurity became something very unimaginable. But we thank God that right now, with the recent deployment of new national security architecture, we are seeing some respite. We are seeing some reduction in such attacks. We are seeing some reduction in such skirmishes and in such clashes between farmers and header. And we hope that it will be sustained. And we also hope that with improved funding, with improved recruitment, we will move from where we are now to a higher level in terms of sustaining the result that we have gained. But I must say, absolutely, we have made some gains.
Okay, so let's also look at the issue of post-harvest losses, which is very, very important to that smallholder farmer, especially in the aspect of them being able to build capacity, especially when this season that we're having flooding here and there. How is the ministry, giving its support, to smallholder farmers in the aspect of post-harvest losses?
Well, I think I should address it maybe from different fronts.
Okay.
The issue of post-harvest losses, we take the first one. There are these food inflation crops that once they are affected, everybody will be on his or her toe. A very good example is tomato. Once tomato is up in the market, you find out everybody is saying, oh, a basket of tomato that used to be XYZ, now is ABC and all that. And every household will feel it. Everybody will feel it. But if I may ask this question, of course it's rhetoric, but the answer is no. This issue of food inflation, particularly tomatoes, in the last 2 years, I'm sure it's not as it what it used to be. At least for the past one year, we have not had the issue of, oh, the price of tomato has gone up, because we all go to the market. We are all that means something has happened.
So what has happened?
Yes. See, government on its own has to ensure, the ministry, particularly the ministry, working with the various associations that has to do with tomato, that has to do with onion, to make sure they are supported.
Okay.
To support them in terms of production, to support them in terms of transportation, because we are talking about storage or post-harvest losses. It has to do from production, harvesting, transportation.
Logistics comes
What they used to transport it before now, if you look very well, is those cane baskets. And that is why we no longer use those cane baskets. We are not using plastic baskets where you arrange them. So for one to press the other is no longer there. That compression is not there. That spoilage has reduced. So with better packaging, with better transportation mix, and with better storage, and again, harvesting at the right time, we ensure that we reduce those post-harvest losses. And that is what we are doing right now. Again, one thing we should also do to ensure that we improve the market prices to reduce losses, that sorting and grading at the point of harvesting is also very, very important.
I know you want to share something very important there, but we have to take a break. Okay, so let's take a break. We'll be back.
A method for digital literacy is a bot that you can use, you can interact to learn more about digital literacy.
Hello, it's our pleasure to have you join us on platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.
what is the yardstick for measuring everybody's moral integrity? It's critical at this point in time.
How daunting has that been for the Institute in getting them abreast with all the legislative procedures?
The fact remains that one training workshop is not enough.
NTA Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
All right, thank you for staying tuned. The conversation is on sustainable agribusiness. If we're looking at economic opportunity, Dr. Aligbe is the Deputy Director from the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. You were just going to share, with us, giving us highlight on the intervention in the aspect of fruits. You gave us for tomato and, of course, onion, so break it down.
Yeah, thank you. Like I've tried to say that other aspects of, particularly for fruits, the starting point is from the feed. Timing of harvesting is very important. And I also mentioned that when you take pineapple, for example, if your destination, your market, is far, we expect that when your crop, or your fruit rather, is 2/3 mature, 2/3 maturity, it should be ready for harvesting. So that by the time you harvest, you will not experience spoilage. If, for instance, you are taking your product outside the country, that will also influence. Or maybe, let me not say outside the country now, maybe the destination from your farm to where you are going. If you're going to take 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, a week or 2 weeks, that will also influence your time of harvesting. Then 2, you should be able, of course, though we are not there yet, but we're trying to encourage the farmers by way of sensitizing them that when you harvest, the way you store your product is also very, very important.
Yeah.
In that case, the temperature of where you are storing it is very important to ensure that you maintain the moisture content, to ensure that you maintain the freshness nature of the fruits. And of course, to ensure that we are able to overcome the problem of these post-harvest losses. One major policy or one major effort that the ministry is doing is to ensure value addition. When you process these foods, you find out that you will be able to reduce to the barest minimum whatever spoilage that you may we are experiencing right now, or whatever losses we are experiencing right now. I give you a very good example. In Benue State, we have some farmers who have approached the ministry. We're having some relationship with them, educating them, developing their capacity on how to add value by way of processing and preserving those products. Sometimes in mango, for instance, you may dry them into flakes. Some persons are already doing that, by dry them into flakes. When you dry them into flakes, you still have the product the way it is. You have added value to it. It will help to stay. And of course, it will also give you more money. So these are some of the things we are doing. But I keep saying this, and which people should always have there in mind. Agriculture is a business. And those who are involved in it should take it as a business. What government is doing is to ensure that we give an enabling environment for business operators to operate, and of course to support them, because agriculture is very, very important to us, and because also Mr. President has also declared emergency for food security. Because of that emergency, that's why we are taking all that we need to do ordinarily. Because it's a business, it is the businessmen who should take it as a challenge and invest in it and make their money. And that, of course, that also leads me to the question you were asking. If the Nigerian environment is actually mature and ripe enough for businessmen to operate. You see, because people are not in agriculture, or they don't have the experience, or they don't have the information, they don't know how lucrative agriculture is. Agriculture is very, very lucrative. Last time I was trying to share with you that if you just do yam mini set, okay, let me use you have sacks.
Now you're looking at homegrown solutions.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You know, just have a tuber of yam, a big size tuber of yam can give you 20 mini set. Just cut them, 20 pieces, and put in 20 bags. You plant them using a good soil. Maybe if you have 10 tubers times 20 pieces that will come from it, the number of sacks you have. At harvest, you may not even want to consume them. At harvest, those tubers, those jam bags that you have in your compound can give you so much. If that is just your idea. Then also too, there are businesses that people are doing that people are not aware of. I take poultry for instance. You buy day-old chicks. You just raise them for 4 weeks and go and sell them. There are people who are willing to buy them to rear them in their compound. You make your money.
Dr. Aligbe, I know you make it sound so seamless, like there are no challenges. You need to also understand, for someone who may want to go into, you need to understand the metrics involved, because farming is not for the faint-hearted. Losses will come. There are risks involved. Right?
Yeah, of course. Doctor, you, as my colleague said, you made it so seamless. Agric is business, and you've reiterated the fact that agribusiness is a very serious business. Now, let's look at the insurance policy of farmers. Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation is in charge of insuring farmers. Yes. And we've had cases between herders and farmers, flooding, and most farmers are counting their losses. Take us through the insurance policy, please.
Okay. The insurance policy in Nigeria is real, but many farmers are not taking advantage of it for some reasons. Either they are not aware, or they believe that if they suffer any loss, that there will not be compensation, or for whatever reason. But let me give you, when you say I make it very simple, as if it's that simple. Yeah. It's because I am a farmer.
Okay.
And as a civil servant, of course, we are permitted to farm.
Yes.
Several years ago, as a more middle cadre officer, there was need for me to do some farming. And I didn't have the money because finance could also be a problem. Yes. I have to approach the bank. I don't know if I should, so that I will not be advertising the bank.
Don't call the bank.
But I can mention, I know 2 banks, old generation banks. I approached one of them. All they needed for me was to say that my salary will continue to come to that bank so long as I work as a civil servant. And I obtained 500,000 naira loan many years ago. But before they will give you, because it's an agric loan, at 1 digit interest rate, you must have an insurance cover. It's compulsory. You see the connection?
Yes.
You must have an insurance cover. It's compulsory. They will take it as a charge. So that if you suffer any fortuitous loss, the insurance will pay.
So the question Obi is asking now, how are these farmers aware and why they're not taking advantage?
And how many farmers do you have in your services?
Okay, I will answer that. Let me take it one by one.
Okay.
When he asked the question, I said, many farmers are not taking advantage of the insurance policy for many reasons. And I mentioned just 2 reasons that may not, I say 1, ignorance, and 2, reluctance.
We got you.
If they are aware.
But how are you bridging that gap? In the aspect
of education.
Okay.
1, there are several ways to it. For anyone that want to take a formal loan or grant, insurance is compulsory. That means you must have it. It's certain. For those that want to have funding from formal sources. They must have it. Then for farmers also too, who have sufficient knowledge of what insurance can do for them, also take this insurance. Don't forget, it comes at a cost. And people often want to avoid that cost. That is why sometimes they don't take it. It's a cost.
Yeah, that's right.
And you may not suffer any loss because people want to play a game that it's not my portion. No, this is not my portion. It's not my portion. Whose portion it is? Is natural disaster can come, national calamity can come. It could be anybody's portion.
It's just like insuring your vehicle.
Yes.
You're not praying for the worst, but just...
You have to. So what we are doing right now is to sensitize farmers to ensure that they take this insurance policy seriously. And don't forget, it is not the ministry that runs the agri insurance company or whatever.
Yeah.
But we are doing a lot to encourage them.
What are you doing?
Yes, to the cooperative. Because we have discovered that the cooperative approach is one of the very best approach that you can bring increased production, increased productivity, increased access to market, increased aggregation.
Because you reach them at the grassroots.
And when you have them as a group, selling such idea to them is very easy. That as this group, as a cooperative, you can access input, you can access credit, you can have aggregation. But for you to do this, there's an insurance policy attached. We found over time that farmer groups like cooperative easily accept to take insurance cover when they act as cooperatives than when they act as individual farmers. So that is one way the ministry is doing. And right now, the ministry is taking it to another higher level by trying to have digitization, to have a digital platform, to have a registry.
That's the data.
Yeah, register of all farmers, put them on the platform. So that when you want to provide services like insurance or credit support and all that, it becomes very easy. The ministry is on that. We have collaboration with some other partners. If you, again, in the news, if you watch your ICAP, you find out that last week, Minister had that collaboration with our partners, and we are doing that. And we do believe at the ministry level that once we come on board in full force, such issues like issue of not taking insurance will be covered. But I also want to say this, which is a credit to the federal government, that even when farmers do not have this insurance, when there is occurrence of fortuitous events, either ravaging by pests or disease, or droughts, or flooding, government always coming to support farmers. I'll give you a very good example. You will agree with me that 2-3 years ago, we have so much losses. Ginger blight. Ginger blight came in Lantana, which have affected Nigeria export capability in terms of ginger. And the federal government didn't just stop at that. You know, we do not just lament. We do not just say, oh, the farmers do not have insurance, therefore they are on their own. No. The federal came out to support them with input, with new improved seeds, and the support is ongoing.
Because sustainability is very key. It's one thing to have this intervention in place, is another to sustain it. Obi?
Director, how many insured farmers do you have in your kitty? That's number one. And number two, have you been able to address the crisis between interagency rivalry when it comes to export and import of farm produce? Because we have Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service on the other hand, and we have Nigeria Customs Service having this interagency rivalry.
Okay, let me address the first one. If we have the data of insured farmers,
yes,
it is the Nigeria Agricultural Insurance that can provide that information that you seek, not the ministry. We do not insure farmers, and because we do not insure farmers, we cannot have that information at my fingertips. But if I know such question will come, perhaps I will either go to the agri insurance company and ask for that data. Because it's not only the agri insurance company, NAIC, that insure farmers, they may not have the exact information. You need to cross-check other insurance companies that also provide agricultural insurance.
You know why that is also relevant for the ministry to be equipped with? Because if you're also going to be sensitizing them, you said because of ignorance and all, you need to know how far, you know, the data they have collated. So maybe that's something you put in check.
Of course.
Okay.
Once you have a comprehensive data, and perhaps you ask the question, is your farm insured? Of course, you can have that information.
Yeah.
But you need to have a survey and all that. But the ready answer is what I just provided. Not that we cannot get it.
Okay.
We can get it. Then, when you talk about rivalry, well, I don't know how you define rivalry. But to me, we do not have rivalry. The question we may want to ask, is there overlaps?
Okay.
Not rivalry now.
Okay.
Is there overlaps between their fashion, between their mandates? Is A performing the duty of B, or their repetition? But I will say that, one, there's no rivalry at all. And there is no duplication of what custom is doing is different from what agricultural quarantine is doing. The purpose of quarantine, they look also at import and export, both crops and livestock. There are certain things you must not bring into the country. Nigeria Customs Service, by nature right now, they are focused right now, if you, though their mandate is broad, but you find out that issue of raising import and export duty collections and other appear to be what they are focusing on, though their duty is beyond that, to ensure that contraband do not come in, to ensure that banned products do not come in. But for agriculture, it is specific. And when you want to export, there are certain standards that you must meet. It's just like having NAFDAC. You have NAFDAC, yes, they are doing their own work. You have SON, they are doing their own work. That doesn't mean that they have stopped custom from doing their job, because custom will also check what comes in, what goes out. Before SON, we stamp a test, oh yes, he meets standards. Before NAFDAC, we said he meets standards. So for agriculture, we have the Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service that is doing the job. It does not interfere with that of custom. Custom have its own job, they have their own job.
So there's a enhanced collaboration in that aspect to ensure that whatever we're exporting, we're seeing the value addition for Nigeria. I know we've moved past, you know, in the past where some of our produce are being rejected and all of that. We've moved past at least in terms of standards.
Yes, because some of those exports, they do not go through the proper channel, through the proper regulatory channel. And because they have got their fingers burnt, many of them has come back now to ensure that they follow it. Because you must obtain the phytosanitary certificates.
Okay.
You must obtain them. If you don't have it, and you just decide you can export, once you get to beyond the shores of this country, they will not accept it. There are minimum standards. No matter how good your product are, you must have those things certified, and you must have the certificate.
So, and I know that we've not even touched, the vast potential we have in the aspect of the value chain, exploring the value chain in the sector. But we'll leave that aside. The implementation of the Kampala Declaration that the ministry adopted, to promote the agro-industrialization and also reduce that post-harvest losses and all of that. I'd like to hear where we are in the aspect of implementing that.
Okay. The Kampala Declaration is one declaration that is very dear to us as a nation, and the government is paying due attention to it. But one thing I want to draw your attention to is the SAPZ.
Okay.
The SAPZ, in a way, is addressing seriously the Kampala Declaration. What we may add to that is maybe issue of financing, which also has been emphasized by the Kampala Declaration. The SAPZ, of course, we have in Kano, we have in Kaduna, we have in Oyo, we have in Ogun, we have in Imo, those hubs, and we are expanding. We even have in Abuja, we are expanding. Those hubs are intended to bring farmers, investors, processors, aggregates, and ensure also too, they have funding to have that seamless operation, so that at the end of the day, the value chain from production to the table is sufficiently addressed. So, in a nutshell, I would say that the SAPZ, as a program of the ministry, is helping. Of course, it's being financed by African Development Bank and other development partners. It's been seriously addressed, and we hope that the implementation of the Kampala Declaration, that we're able to expand it to many other states of the Federation, and also have the buy-in of the subnationals.
Okay.
I keep on repeating that because agriculture is on the utility on the concurrent list, the subnational must kill into it.
They have a very crucial role to play.
Because if they do that, I'm sure it will be an Eldorado for us as a nation in terms of agricultural profitability, sustainability, and development.
So, Obi, it should be a final question. We have to wrap up.
Okay, Director, where do we stand in terms of agri-value chain? Which sector will you say Nigeria is actually topping the chart in Africa? Is it rice production? Because about 2 years ago, the minister talked about zinc rice production, import from China. And up till now, nothing has been heard on that. So where do we stand in terms of value chain in agriculture?
Let me quickly say this. When you talk of zinc rice,
yes,
it's actually fortification. And right now in Nigeria, I think we have a very good report on that. Fortification of crops is to identify certain elements that are lacking, and you want to ensure that those elements are in those crops that are like staple crops. For instance, rice, we identify that you must have zinc. You will also look at maize, because maize is a staple crop. You have to ensure that you fortify maize, and of course you bring in the relevant vitamins that should be in maize, so that when you eat maize as a staple food, you have all the vitamins there. Also sweet potato, also cassava. So those foods are being fortified.
Okay.
And as we fortify them, I want to make this very clear quickly for Nigeria. They are not GMOs. Biofortification is not the same thing as GMOs.
Okay.
They are free, they are good, they are nutritious,
Okay.
and we encourage that people should have them.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan Aligbe. And it's good you spoke to that, because you're the Dex officer for maize value chain development at the ministry. So it's good you spoke to that. Thank you so much. We do appreciate your contribution and, of course, your insightful message on where Nigeria is in the aspect of sustainable agri practices in the country. Thank you. And we hope we'll keep monitoring development across all strata under the sector, especially as it concerns Nigerians. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Well
It's
done.
my pleasure being here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
All right, he is the Deputy Director at the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Obi Okwe is our correspondent from the Sun newspaper. Thank you so much for joining us on platform.
Thank you.
Grateful.
Thank you.
All right, that's where we will wrap it up on platform. But before we go, of course, you know that food security concerns you and I, and this is something that you can actually start at your backyard. You know, it takes nothing. Like Dr. Aligbe said, yam for me is what I'm going to go into. But the most important thing is for us coming together as a nation to ensure that we have a resilient, self-sufficient, inclusive, and sustainable sector, agri sector to be precise, for our nation. And that's Platform. I'm Ruth Aguwele.